president's lawyers are busy. And I just want to review real quickly in case you haven't watched us all this week. There's a lot of stuff going on. Number one, I believe there was fraud in the election. Number two, was it fraud that overcame a 6 million vote plurality? I don't think so, not at that level. That's too many. And so Biden got about 6 million more votes in the popular column than President Trump did. Both broke records, as you all know, because it was a record turnout. About 68% of registered voters cast ballots on November 3rd. But there was fraud. And I have isolated the areas: Atlanta, Fulton County, Philadelphia, Wayne County, that's Detroit, Michigan, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Clark County, Las Vegas, Nevada. Okay, so in those places, and maybe in Arizona, but Arizona is probably more of they have a hard time counting there for some reason. In those states, they're all swing states, and it's crucial situations. There were misdeeds, maybe felonies that happened. So when the president dispatches lawyers to those areas, he's actually doing every American a service. See, I mean, this is what I'm not going to compare it to Hunter Biden on the merits, but it's like Hunter Biden. So what Hunter Biden did with the help of his father was wrong. Now, whether it's felonious or misdemeanor or nothing, I don't know, but it was wrong. And every American should have gotten the details of what was happening so it didn't happen again. So other politicians couldn't do it again. All right? But the press blacked it out because they wanted Biden to defeat Trump in the presidential race, so they wouldn't report it. That's just blatant corruption. I mean, that's all that is. So you flash forward to the election, most of the press doesn't want these recounts. They don't want to hear about what they did in Philadelphia and Detroit. They don't want to do it. And if you report it, you're a racist. And I'll get into that in a little while. And particularly in the inner cities where a lot of the corruption has taken place, is minorities living there. And so if you look at that and question the corruption, you're a racist. It's the old card. So keep maybe a list of people in the media that you see doing this kind of stuff. Because what should happen is that all Americans say, look, I don't want to know if people are cheating in our presidential election. I want to know. So it doesn't happen again. And we can stamp it out. I was on a Bernie and Sid WABC radio show today, and they were talking about this with me. And Bernie McGurk said, well, you know, if there was cheating, then we have to do drastic action. I don't know about drastic. It just depends how big the cheating was. But I said, look, in every election, beginning with John Adams versus Thomas Jefferson, George Washington didn't have any opponents, so he didn't have to cheat. There's been cheating, every single one. And there always will be, because that's what people do in elections. But you don't condone it, and you try to root it out. But there's always going to be cheating, just like there's always going to be stealing and lying. It's always going to happen. And when you find it, you can't just chuck it. You have to put it in some kind of legal perspective. And that's what's happening now. So let's run down the facts. And by the way, I want to make one other point in case you haven't been watching this week. If I were President Trump, I would not concede the election. He doesn't have to do that. If it comes to pass, and it will, I'm telling you right now, it will, that Biden is certified the winner in December 11th, the last certification day, I would congratulate him if I were President Trump, but I would continue to say, I'm not going to concede because I don't believe this election was run the way it should have been. And I want a full explanation of it. When I get that full explanation, which the president never will, by the way, then I'll concede. When I know the extent of the cheating, then I'll concede. That's what I would do. And I think most Americans will respect that. All right, specifically, Georgia recount. So they got it down to 12,800 lead for Biden by counting votes that they hadn't counted. Out of 10 million votes cast, 10 million plus votes cast, it's this. But it's not going to overturn. All right, so Biden won the state of Georgia. Did he really? I don't know. But you'd have to prove massive fraud in Fulton County, Atlanta. That's where the problem lies. So Georgia, I think we can expect next week. We'll just say Biden's got it. Michigan, a little murkier now. Detroit, Wayne County. So two Republican election officials, Monica Palmer, okay, and I'm sorry, wasn't Monica? Let's see, election official. Yes, Monica Palmer and one other were threatened, okay, by people because these two Republican electors, they withdrew their certification and said, no, we think there was cheating in Wayne County. All right? So we're not going to certify. We're not putting our names on an election that we feel is dishonest. So these two people are very courageous people. And here's how they were attacked on social media. Roll tape.
Let's be very clear. Your words today and your actions today made it clear that you are okay with silencing the votes of an 80% African-American city. And what that tells us is you, Miss Monica Palmer from Grosse Pointe Woods, which has a history of racism, are deciding to enable and continue to perpetuate the racist history of this country.
I just want to let you know that the Trump stink, the stain of racism that you, William Hartman, and Monica Palmer have just covered yourself in is going to follow you throughout history. Your grandchildren are going to think of you like Bull Connor or George Wallace.
Well, that's just despicable garbage, and the other man's name is William Hartman. So two Republican on the Board of Elections in Michigan are refusing to certify, and they're attacked viciously by these animals. And they are animals. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Come on. They have no decorum. They're smearing these people for their honest assessment. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff that's going on in Michigan right now. As far as the court cases are concerned in Michigan, it all centers around Detroit and whether or not they counted the vote honestly in Detroit. With 165,000 plurality for Biden in Michigan, that's not going to change. Not. Too much. Too high. Bar is too high. Pennsylvania, the best chances I've been reporting. There are a number of lawsuits in play. The state, I predict, will rule against the Trump administration on every one of them, but then they'll take it to federal court, and the Supreme Court could wind up hearing the big one. This is the big one. 1.5 million mail-in or absentee votes, all right, came in too late, according to Pennsylvania law. 1.5 million. Plurality is 60,000 for Biden in Michigan. Now, if the Supreme Court looks at this and says, yes, indeed, that the voting people in Pennsylvania violated their own law, they could overturn that. Now, that's 20 electoral votes. That's not enough. Not enough to overturn the national election. And then they would have to count again, and what a mess, right? You see where this is going. So, summing up, 100 to 1 odds, 50 to 1 against Donald Trump. But again, we should know the truth, and I don't know whether we ever will.
If you are over the age of 50, I have an important message for you. There's a true alternative to AARP, the liberal retirement group that lobbies in favor of progressive policies. For less than $20 a year, an AMAC membership gives you members-only pricing on car insurance, roadside assistance, discounts on hotels and travel, cell phone plans, discount dental plans, and on and on and on and on. So please join more than 1 million fellow Americans right now at amac.us And yes, I am a member. Visit amac.us, amac.us.
So let's get to COVID, which is the reason Donald Trump lost. Let me explain that again. So in January of this year, the economy was robust. Working men and women were making more money than they had under 8 years of Obama. There were plenty of jobs available for anybody who wanted to work. And our foreign policy was beneficial to the USA. All of that would have overwhelmed Joe Biden. COVID comes in. Economy tanks. People lose jobs. Chaos everywhere. Danger everywhere. People are terrified. Kids can't go to school. Donald Trump wanted to keep things calm. So he did not jump up and down, issue mask mandates, do anything like that at all. Wanted to keep the stock market stable, which he did, so that people wouldn't lose their IRAs, the college funds, all of that. He did. But by doing so, he diminished COVID's danger by not waving around the mask and not getting proactive in the sense of being an alarmist. Now, I had no problem as an American citizen with that approach because I am smart enough to understand that this is and was a very dangerous situation. I'll remind you again, the first national journalist in the country that warned was me on January 23rd. And I came to that conclusion because I saw Beijing put the army and surround the Wuhan province and say to the people, if you come out of your home, we're going to arrest you. When I saw that, I went, uh-oh, that's huge. But the Chinese didn't stop people from getting on a plane near Wuhan and flying wherever they wanted to fly. And that's how the worldwide pandemic began. Okay? In their own country, they had the army with guns pointed at you if you came out of your house. But if you wanted to go to London or San Francisco, have a good trip. China. So I knew that this was going to be bad. And I didn't know how bad. I had no idea how bad, but I knew it was going to be bad. So flash forward to today, and we have 33 states with masks mandated. They're the blues. The whites don't have the mandates, okay? So that means that you have to wear the mask in a variety of situations. Each state is different. All right, but look at that. Because the resurgence of COVID in the last month is worse than it was in the first part of the year. Okay, come back to me. So Donald Trump was hammered by fear of COVID and the accusation it was all his fault, which was a lie. Because Europe is just as bad as we are. So is it all their fault over there? Macron and Johnson and all of the leaders of Europe, their fault too? They do this? Come on. It was a lie from the very beginning. And when you're an incumbent, even if it's not your fault, some people say, well, we'll give the other guy a chance. And that's what happened to Donald Trump. So he got 73 million votes. Without COVID, probably would have got 68 million because people would not have voted in the great numbers. Biden would have got 58 million, maybe 60. COVID got Donald Trump. The most strict mandates, Pennsylvania. All right, so you have to wear a mask in all inside facilities and outside if you pass somebody. All right, you have to. And you have to wear a mask in your own home if there's a person in your home that's not related to you. Now, I don't think many people are doing that, but that's what they're ordering to do. California, everybody except the governor who can go to dinner without a mask. We all know that story, Gavin Newsom. Everybody else has to wear a mask wherever you go. Indoors, outdoors, Everybody over 2 years old, by the way. So if you're 3 and you don't put your mask on, they'll arrest you or something. I don't know what they'll do. In Maine, when I was in Maine, it was voluntary, but everybody had a mask everywhere when I was there a few weeks ago. Masks are required in all public, indoor, outdoor settings, even if you're outside of 6 feet. So everybody got to wear a mask in Maine if you're over 5. They give the 3 and 4-year-olds a break. Now, there are still Americans who resist. You know them, I know them, they're around. And a Columbia University epidemiologist, say that 5 times, says he believes that his research has produced a stat that 3.6 million people in America have COVID, don't know it, and are walking around with it. All right, I'll believe it. I'm not going to, how do I know? But there are people who say, I don't care. I'm not wearing a mask. Government's not telling me what to do. At this point, wear the mask. All right, wear the mask. Now, once Joe Biden is inaugurated in January, COVID's going to start to disappear. It's all going to be because of Biden. Even though the Trump administration did a fantastic job. And I'm not saying this with any ideology or party favor at all. What a fantastic job the Trump administration did in Operation Warp Speed in getting these vaccines. All right? Come on. Let's be fair. But we're not going to be fair, are we? But once Biden's president, then he's going to be the greatest guy. And it's going to be like Jesus curing the lepers. It's going to be Joe curing the COVID. What do you see? What do you see the reportage? So the last surge is here, just in time for Thanksgiving. I had to cut back my Thanksgiving celebration. We usually have open house here at the O'Reilly household. Can't do that. All right, so just for me, immediate family, you know, got to have immediate family, and I'm going to. But got to cut it back because I don't want anyone coming in here who I don't know. And even if you take a COVID test on Monday, Thursday, you could have it. The COVID test doesn't do anything but tell you, hey, on that day, you don't have it. Not to say you shouldn't get it if you need it, but it's not a panacea. Word of the day, panacea, which means cure-all. And then I don't want, I know it's going to happen, Christmas to be ruined for millions of Americans because they get infected on Thanksgiving. Okay. Vaccines, we have now, Britain says they have one, that's 3. They had to say it in Oxford. Oxford has been doing the research because America has 2. So this is the way it's going to come down for the vaccine. Ready? Here's how it is. Within the next 2 or 3 weeks, the FDA, Federal Drug Administration, will say the vaccine is safe, you can distribute it. The 2 companies will, okay, because they have billion-dollar contracts with the USA. So Pfizer and Moderna, they'll send the vaccine out to the states, to all 50 states. The states will decide who gets priority in the beginning. That'll be elderly people, hospital workers, EMS people, that kind of thing. But then pretty fast, it'll be available through your doctor. And I hope you have one vital in life. Your doctor will be able to give you the shot. It'll be like the flu shot. I'm getting a flu shot myself on Tuesday, next Tuesday. And I'll get the vaccine. I told Hannity, I'll be the first one. You want me to be the vaccine guy? I'll take the first vaccine dose. Because I don't care if I turn into a zombie. That was my line. It doesn't matter. Then I won't have to pay all the taxes I have to pay. I could just float around and chase people. So I'll take the first one. But then people would say, well, listen, O'Reilly, we think you're an insane maniac now, so how could we tell if there was an adverse reaction to that? And I said, look, do you have to be a wise guy in the middle of a pandemic? That's my answer. All right, so vaccine coming. Once it comes, the virus will not be wiped out. It will be diminished. And one other thing, the vaccine doesn't kick in for 4 weeks, they tell me. So even if you get it, you got a 4-week, your system gets in, and then, you're protected, I guess. But we'll get more of that as it comes out. All right, we're in a recession. Everybody knows it. Millions of Americans have lost their jobs, and now's the time to evaluate your financial portfolio. And I recommend you hold some gold and silver, and the company that I use is American Hartford Gold Group. I've been with them for years. They sell physical gold and silver. You can hold it, or they'll deliver it to your IRA. Gold is up more than 30% since I started telling you about the American Hartford Gold Group. So please call them now, tell them Bill sent you, and they'll give you $1,500 of free silver on your first order. The number is 877-444-GOLD-GOLD, 877-444-GOLD-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. Now, COVID is hurting, of course, American business across the board. So there's an article in the Wall Street Journal today. It says 300 companies that received more than $500 million in government loans during the crisis, all right, have gone bankrupt despite the loans. Okay, so, and this continues. So the COVID has devastated American business. And perhaps the most high-profile business that has been really hammered is the National Football League. All right, a lot of the stadiums have nobody in them, and then others have 90%, 10% fans can go, 90 can't, that kind of thing. So I asked my pal Jim Gray, who's got a brand new book out, to give me a little analysis of the NFL because he does Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Gray's book is Talking to Goats, the moments you remember and stories you never heard. Problem with Gray's book is I thought he meant real goats. So I've been running around Long Island trying to find some goats to research, but it isn't goats, real goats. It's greatest of all time. So Gray is a big shot. He knows like Tom Brady and these guys, and he writes about it. But anyway, let's get to the National Football League. How badly, Gray, have they been hurt by this COVID thing?
Bill, this is quite an introduction. I'm sorry you didn't find any goats, but they've been hurt very, very badly. And the revenues obviously are way down when you can't have people in the stadiums. And it depends upon your municipalities where you can and can't go. Some cities they're letting in, as few as 500 and 1,000 fans. Other places it's up to 7,500. California, New York, and so forth. Washington, they're nobody in the stadium. So that's just a huge, huge revenue hit. And obviously they have salary caps and have to pay players, but the bulk of their money comes from television. So they're still collecting those billions of dollars. But obviously, and this has been devastating to the NBA, lost billions of dollars by playing down in the bubble in Orlando. And they're going to start a new season December 22nd. And again, fans are not going to be permitted into these stadiums, obviously, with COVID ravaging the country and the numbers going up. You can't have people congregating inside in a stadium and then asking them to pay for a ticket and not being sure that, there's safety precautions and protocols in place. So if the NBA has to go through another entire season, first of all, with all the travel, who knows if they'll get through the season being outside of a bubble. And if they do, and they got to go into it and go through the finals, if they can't have revenues next season from fans coming to stadiums, there's going to be a tremendous amount of teams in both the NBA and the NHL that are going to be in peril, that may not be able to operate. You take a look at what went on with baseball as well. Those teams are going to be in financial distress and trouble. It's a big problem.
All right, because they still have to pay the salaries that the contracts were signed before COVID, and they still got to pay all the overhead of the stadiums and things like that. Yet their revenue, obviously the TV revenue, from what I understand, that's split evenly among the football and basketball teams, the TV revenue. Is that right?
Well, the national revenue is. The local revenues are much, much different for baseball and for basketball. You've got teams like the Lakers and the Dodgers literally collecting hundreds of millions of dollars. And then you have teams in Milwaukee and Miami and so forth that are collecting very small small portions, much, much different disparity. But in the National Football League, everybody, all 32 teams, share all of the television revenue equally. So it's an easier equation for them.
Right, right.
But the
But
small
when you
markets
get
in these other sports are getting clobbered.
yeah, when you got 70,000 people buying $10 beers and hot dogs and paying $20 to park, I mean, that's billions of dollars. All right, let's get to your book. So one of the reasons, as you know, I know a lot about sports. And at one time when I was younger, I was thinking about going into sports casting until Don Shula yelled at me. This is a true story. So I'm teaching high school in Opelika, Florida, Pace High School. And right next door, the Miami Dolphins, undefeated that year, were training at St. Thomas Aquinas College. And me and another teacher used to sneak in to the press conferences, and I would ask a question. And I asked a question, and Shula thought it was stupid and looked at me, and I was all of 21, and said, "That's a stupid question." That was the end of my sports career. But one of the reasons I didn't go into sports broadcasting is because it's very difficult to really honestly report on athletes when you're so close to them. I can call Washington people pinheads, but I don't see them hardly at all. Guys covering the teams, guys like you have to interview these people, you see them all the time. So there's a portion in your book that I found unbelievably compelling where you interviewed Pete Rose during a Hall of Fame game or something. Pick that story up.
Well, it was Game 2 of the World Series in 1999. The Braves were at home playing the New York Yankees, and it was the all-century team that had been named by a credit card company, and baseball had given up control, and they allowed the fans to vote. The fans voted Pete Rose back onto the field for the first time in 10 years after he had signed away his banishment for gambling on baseball. So obviously, it was a huge ceremony. Ted Williams, Sandy Koufax, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, everybody was there. And Pete Rose was allowed to participate as being the all-time hit king. So at NBC, we did the interview with Pete right after the ceremony. And I asked him about would he like to make some sort of an admission now that the American public was very forgiving, and would he like to take this opportunity to come clean of something that he had been in denial of for 10 years and basically had lied to the public about so that he could maybe get back into the good graces of baseball and have a job and get into the Hall of Fame. Well, he didn't want to admit it then.
That's bad. We're talking about betting on games, so people know. You know, Rose bet on baseball games when he was the manager of the Reds. So you asked him, hey, do you want to apologize to the folks now and get this behind you? He didn't want to do that. And what happened to you?
Well, it got contentious, and it spiraled out of control. And then, the fans got very upset because they felt it was an intrusion on the ceremony and that it was the wrong time and the wrong place. But the questions had to be asked of Pete at that time. And so everybody got upset. The Yankees and Chad Curtis boycotted me the next night. He wouldn't answer a question about the game-winning home run. The fans got very upset, not only in Ohio and Kentucky, but across the country. And, there was just a ton of vitriol, and a lot of folks very upset with me, making all kinds of threats and calling in voicemails and sending in letters. And it just spiraled to the point where, it got very difficult. And the repercussions were not only felt by Pete, but also felt by me as to having asked him those questions. And this was pre-internet too, so there was no social media. And
thank God. Thank God.
Yeah.
You'd probably be in Czechoslovakia, in the Czech Republic now, Czechoslovakia. But if you read Gray's book, he gets very specific about who did what to him, and it's one of the nastiest things I've ever seen happen to a journalist. But very unusual character came not to your rescue so much, but gave you solace. Who was that?
Well, there were quite a few, and they were my friends. First of all, Dick Ebersol was the model of how to treat an employee under distress.
Yeah, he was the NBC guy. But I'm talking about a real big name who you would not expect to knock on your door late at night to help you. Who was that?
The boss, and his name is George Steinbrenner. And he came to my room when we got back to Yankee Stadium for Game 3. And it was immediately after Chad Curtis blew me off on after the game-winning home run. It was 1:30 in the morning, and I had protection outside my door. A New York city policeman and an FBI guy had helped me at the stadium, and one of them was still outside. So I thought it was that guy who wanted to come inside and maybe use the restroom or order something to eat. So I opened the door in my shorts, and it was George Steinbrenner standing next to the security guard, and he was in his coat and tie and had just come back from the stadium, and he said, "Can I come in?" And there I was, no shirt on and so forth. And I said, sure, George, come on in. And he said, "Look, I just want to say this. I'm fine with that interview. That interview was no problem. That's first of all. Second of all, the way you were treated at Yankee Stadium tonight does not represent the way that the organization feels, certainly doesn't represent the way that I feel, and nothing like that will ever happen to you again while I own this team." He then stuck out his hand.
Let me stop you. That
Yeah.
I was stunned. I know the Steinbrenner family for many years. I know how kind they are. I know or knew the late George Steinbrenner. I'm so happy you put that in, but I didn't know any of that. And when I'm reading your book, I'm going, I don't even know any of that. One last question, real quick. Brady, how old is Brady? 42? Is he 42?
43.
He's 43. So I saw him throw a 50-yard dart. As you know, I'm a former quarterback. 43-year-old guy throws a 50-yard rope last week. So what is the guy eating? I mean, I know he's a maniac workout guy, but I've never seen anything like that. And you're one of his best friends.
He's eating avocado ice cream.
Is that right? Avocado ice cream? I gotta get
avocado ice cream, and he's into pliability, and he's into nutrition and how to decrease inflammation. And Tom and his training coach and great guy that works with him every day, Alex Guerrero, he has him on this program that is enabling him to be able to continue at this high level. And it's phenomenal.
I think he's what is it, Cybertron or is it Cyborg guy or anyway, Gray, you should be eating that ice cream. I'm getting it. The book is Talking to Goats, not the real goats, the greatest of all time. Jim Gray. I enjoyed the book. Jim, thanks for helping us out tonight.
Bill, thanks for having me on. Great to see you. I appreciate it.
Cheers. Many of us are worried that our 401ks and retirement savings, everything we work for over a lifetime, could evaporate. With all the fake news, it's important to have an independent expert in our corner to preserve and grow our savings. It's simple. So please meet Silicon Valley angel investor and 5G expert Jeff Brown of Brownstone Research, whose only obligation is to us, to you. His newsletter, The Near Future Report, shares his analysis on where the stock market is going and when, which stocks are poised to rise and fall, and new ways to profit from the exploding tech market. His track record is amazing, so please go to bill5g.com. It's easy, bill5g.com. You will thank me. All right, Joe Biden has a charitable foundation. It's called the Biden Cancer Initiative. It was founded in 2017 on the model of the Clinton Foundation. And I mean that literally. So the New York Post reports federal filings, because you have to file with a charitable foundation to the feds. I do that on my foundation named after my parents, that the charity took in the years 2017-18, almost $5 million. And it spent $3 million, okay? And it gave no money, no grants to anybody. Now, what did it do? What did it do? It paid Biden's friends, hired them and paid them. That's what the Clinton Foundation did. The Clintons hired all their friends and paid them $200,000-300,000 a year. All right? No money, no grants out of the Biden Foundation. Just thought you'd like to know. All right, COVID. So Moderna says it has a vaccine that's 95% effective in wiping out COVID. So let's have it. I'll take it today. I'll take it on camera. I know some of you won't. And you know what? I respect that. You don't want to take the vaccine? Don't take it. All right. It's unconstitutional for anybody to force you to take any vaccine. Now, measles, you got to take it, your kid, or kid can't go to school. Got to do that. Got to do that. You have to homeschool your kid if you don't want to take the measles. So this, I don't know how they're going to come down on it, the federal government, but I'm happy. And I think that by April, COVID is going to be tamped down. But in the meantime, you got to watch out. The most vicious contagion I have ever seen. The thing is just incredibly infectious. So in Michigan, Governor Whitmer, who loves this kind of stuff because she loves power, basically said for 3 weeks, you're not going to be able to do anything in Michigan. All right? No indoor dining, no in-person classes, nothing. Michigan shut down. Washington State, same thing. Can't do anything. You know, I could read you the list, but it's pretty much a shutdown. Washington State, Michigan. Chicago, shut down. A friend of mine had to go there the other day. He said the streets were deserted, except for the drug gangs shooting people. Those are the only people around. Chicago. New Mexico, shut down. Okay, New Mexico, you know, if you want to go to a restaurant, you got to go to Arizona and Texas. Now, because of all of this, and because COVID has led to chaos in many, many places around the country, there is a big change in the way Americans are living. And that change is not going to change back once COVID is out. So New York City is the best example. In the past 8 months, 300,000 people have asked the post office to forward their mail to another address permanently. Permanently, 300,000. Most of those people earn more than $100,000 a year, so tax receipts in New York City are going to plummet. Where are they going? Suffolk County, all right, 22,000. Nassau County, where I am right now, 19,000. Florida, 13,000. Floridians, welcome the New Yorkers, please. All right. Los Angeles, 8,500. 8,500. Why would you move from New York to LA? It's worse. Except for the weather, of course. All right. 421 have moved to Honolulu. Have fun. Aloha. Okay, let's get to some mail. Mike Trezza, New York City. Bill, you said on Monday's No Spin News, the Truth segment, that Donald Trump believes he won the election and that massive fraud caused it to go to Biden. Do you believe Donald Trump is correct? I believe that Joe Biden got more popular votes than Donald Trump by a significant margin. I believe that in the states we talked about earlier, there was fraud that may have tilted the election to Joe Biden. May. I'd like to see more. I want the investigation to continue. Paul Worley, St. Louis. Bill, I'm with you. President Obama should not concede after how he was treated. He should walk away on January 20th and bypass the inauguration. I'm not sure I would bypass the inauguration. I'm not sure I would do that, but I would not concede. Tanya, I still appreciate you telling us the truth, Bill, but let me push back on what you said. If Donald Trump was only more polite, if he moderated his anger a bit, he would have won. I don't believe that's true. Okay, and you may be right, Tanya. It's just my analysis. There's a lot of personality involved in that anti-Trump vote. A lot. Harold, Bill, you said U.S. Congress should pass a fair election law. Isn't this anti-constitutional as it says the states must do it? Harold, you've got to have oversight. So the state of California could say, we're going to drop the voting age to 8 and everybody can vote twice. Sacramento could do that. Fed's going to allow that? No, they wouldn't. So you've got to have standards. States can, under the Constitution, regulate how to vote, but you can't have crazy stuff. We need a federal law of standards. Larry, Bill, I love the thought of passing a federal law telling the states there are rules. However, Mitch McConnell does not like it when you outthink him. Kate's Law. That's true. No doubt about it. John Radford, Macon, Georgia. Bill, we know the media will be gushing and fawning over Biden-Harris, but you see the media turning on Joe Biden a year or so if he doesn't go far enough left. I see the New York Times and the Washington Post telling Biden what to do and Biden will do it. That's how I see it, or try to do it. Harry Savage, Ashland, Illinois. Is the mass suicide you talked about in Jonestown, Guyana, where the phrase Kool-Aid drinker began? Yes. All right. That's where Kool-Aid drinker began. Judy Kasparovicius, Jackson, New Jersey. Thank you, Bill. Tonight, you lifted my spirit by giving me hope for the future. I might not always like to hear what you say, but I always know you're reporting the truth. I appreciate that, Judy. Mark McCallum, Davie, Florida. Hey, Bill. Received my signed copy of Killing Crazy Horse and read the first 6 chapters immediately. Finished it within the week. Excellent as always. Your series of books should be required reading in college history classes. Thank you very much for reading the book, Mark. All right, why don't you go to BillO'Reilly.com Christmas store, Thanksgiving store, so you don't have to go to the mall. Number 1, if you do a lifetime membership, you get all 10 Killing books, including Killing the Mob, which will be out May 4th. Number 2, ornaments, Christmas ornaments for the tree. You got to have them. You know you have to have them. And these are very, very moderately priced, but they're beautiful. They're just beautiful, made in America. Okay. Number 3, the doormats, almost sold out of the doormats. We say Merry Christmas and stand up for your country. These are tremendous gifts. There's stand up for your country. I have one right outside my house. I posted a picture on BillO'Reilly.com. All right, all the books are for sale. Again, you become a lifetime member. You get all 10 Killing books, okay? And you give them out to gifts, and that pays for your membership. And if you become a premium member or a concierge member or give it away, you can give away premium or concierge membership. You can do that, okay? Then if you're a concierge member, you get a signed book, free. If you're a premium member, you get a free book. Any book you want, you pick. All right, remember, concierge membership and premium membership make great Christmas gifts. Back with a final thought in a moment. Okay, so let's do the final thought. I'm taking some time off. I'm a little bit delirious. My staff needs a break. We've been working very hard, as you know, since Labor Day. And I'll be off next week, but I'm going to be checking in. Anything happens, go to BillO'Reilly.com under Message of the Day, and I will weigh in, all right, with written commentary right there. So you check in. We got so many good things. We got all my radio interviews posted. If you have some time next week, it's holiday week, all right? But I'm going to be running around, and I'm going to be reading a lot, and I'll tell you what books I liked in the final thought when I come back. But I'm going to do some reading, do some breathing, do some walking. I'm not going anywhere. I usually down in the Caribbean this time of year. You can't really do that. It's such a pain in the neck to do it. And I miss it. I'd like to be underwater, but I can't. So I'm staying here on Long Island, gonna relax, but I will be checking in to BillO'Reilly.com. I want you guys to have a great Thanksgiving, all right? This COVID thing is gonna end soon. I'm sorry about the election chaos. I wish we lived in a perfect country. We don't. I want you to keep the faith. Keep the faith. We are here for you. All right? We'll see you a week from Monday.